you'll see her name in there. If there's an issue with that recording, let Jules know on there. Two reasons for recording the sessions. One, if your internet drops out, or you have a problem, or you have to leave the session, there's a backup there and you can go and revisit what we're talking about. The second one is, because we are going through quite a lot of information, it's a great resource. Should you think, oh, what was that section there? You can go back and just take your time and look through any of those sections through any of the workshops that we're doing, and just use those as a backup for your own sort of learning and knowledge in there. Jules is our tech host. You'll see her name in there. Any issues with that, please let her know. Any issues that you're having, let her know. She'll help you as much as she can. There's a number of other colleagues in the room. So we've got Debs, Andrew, Liv, Karen. They're going to be in here today to help facilitate and support everyone in the breakout rooms and help manage those. So there's a number of the rest of the team here today to help you as well. As we've said, use the chat. That'd be great. There will be times at which we'll invite potentially someone to come on with their mic, maybe. We always welcome that. All we'd say is also, let's respect everyone's. People may come on with differing opinions. Let's just respect that we all have different opinions at different times on different things. So on there. So I think I've covered off the main housekeeping sort of agenda on that. Sarah, anything else to add? Have I missed anything?
No, good job there, Graham. Morning, everybody. It's nice to see some familiar faces. I'm recognising some of these lovely faces from some of our other workshops. Lovely to see you all.
Yes, indeed.
I'll start sharing the slides if you're happy.
Yes, please. Without further ado, let's go. Okay, so if everyone can give us a wave, if you can see if that's come up all right. Yeah, thank you, Ian. Thanks, Pete. Lovely. And Nuska, thank you very much. So that looks like they're okay. So welcome, as you said, to Digital Basecamp, day one. There we are, search engines and SEO basics with Sarah O'Dwyer. We've got a bit of tech sort of jargon already in the title. The goal of these workshops is actually to sort of, everyone's going to be at a different level of understanding. The idea really, as far as I'm concerned with these and team, is to try and demystify, to look through some of the fog that can often surround our websites if we are responsible for them ultimately as the business owners. You may, for some of you, have people who are designing websites for you. It may be that you are the owner, designer, updater of the website. And that is a job in itself. And often for a lot of people, it can strike some fear. You know, what is that? What is Google Analytics? What do I do with my content? These workshops are designed to help you through that, to hopefully help share and demystify some of that information around owning and managing your website. So Sarah, if we can just move on to the next slide, if that's okay, thanks. So we did ask you we sent out some surveys beforehand, and we've got a really good proportion of people who had responded. If you haven't yet responded to the questionnaire that went out, please do, because actually in the forthcoming sessions that we've got lined up, workshops, some of that information is going to be useful and shared. But we thought we'd share just some of the key findings, if you like, to see where we are in the room as a group. So I'm going to just run through these for a couple of minutes. So as I said, 60% of you say that the internet plays a critical part of business operations. Okay, so that's a good proportion for us to have. 40% said the website's currently basic and could be doing more for your business. Not unusual, that sort of statistic for the level of the people we've got in the room. 27% have got no real web presence. Okay, 53% said you don't know the search terms, the keywords, the customers, mainly the main customers use to find you. Great, we're going to be covering this off, so that's a good stat to have. We're going to be answering that. 40% are thinking of paying for traffic, for generating traffic in the near future. And we're going to be looking also, I think it's really important, me and Sarah were talking about this yesterday. Paying is one of our tools, it's one of the mechanisms, but this word, this organic, you know, can we actually create content within our website and use those keywords that explain to Google and the other search engines who we are and what we do, that are actually going to raise our organic rankings. So just as important as paying is that word organic, and we're going to look into that as well. 51% have Google Analytics in place but struggle to help get information, helpful info from it. Yes, most businesses I've ever come across have Google Analytics and don't look at it. And we're not talking small businesses, we're talking larger ones as well, unless they've got someone who's dedicated to that job. It is an essential, I would suggest, an essential part of having a website. If our marketing, so if our website is important to our business, either we're going to sell directly through it or we want to take people through to our website as a rich information point. How do we know if our marketing is working, particularly online? Google Analytics is a rich resource. And often you can open that first page and go, I have no idea what I'm looking at or what it means. So again, one of our workshops is going to be dedicated to help you understand or better understand how Google Analytics can work for you and what you can do and learn from it to improve your marketing, to improve traffic, hopefully, and ideally through to your website. 53% of you create content for your website, but admit to it being sporadic. Again, not unusual. Most businesses that I've sort of sat with, even larger ones, don't do this little and often, this drip feed, this regular pieces of content that keep reinforcing what it is you do, why you're adding value, how you're helping the customer, and just interesting content. Again, we were in the right place. I'm loving that these statistics are coming through and what they're saying, because these workshops are going to be addressing specifically some of these key areas. So thanks for filling those in. If you haven't done them yet, please do. Sarah, yeah, if we can move on to the next slide, that'd be great.
And I think, Graham, that the lovely Jules is going to share the link for the survey in the chat. Not that we're pushing you into it, guys, that for anyone that hasn't done it yet, we're going to make it real simple for you and put the link to the survey in the chat so Great. That you can do it. Right, sorry.
No,
I'll move on.
We don't mind a bit of subtle selling. Okay, Moodle. Just a very brief point on this, guys. As we've said, we've recorded and will be recording all of the sessions. If it drops out for any reason, or if you want to go back, if there's a section you kind of thought was really important, but you just through the flow of what we had to get through, you don't have time, we will send you after each session a link to Moodle. Okay. They're recorded and they'll be sent out after each session. So you can't super fast forward these sessions and go and find them online. It's only going to be after the session, each session. There you will find access to the recordings. You have to sign up. It's a very simple and straightforward process. Also, any of the links that we put into the chat, reference and resource points that we might put into there, they'll be in there as well. So Moodle is a really rich resource for you guys, should, like I say, you have to leave your desk or the internet goes down. So we just want to, you will be emailed links to that afterwards, but we just wanted to highlight that. Okay, so I think we can go on. Okay, just a quick introduction to the 4 sessions. So welcome to day 1, all about being findable online. Okay, where are we found? Where are our customers potentially finding us? And what are the understandings of these keywords, the things that will describe what it is we do? I always call this the Ron Seal moment. Are we truly describing through our websites what it is we do, what we offer in really clear and consistent ways? Do those words, do those phrases, those explanations appear often enough for them to actually be captured should someone do a search? And the SEO, search engine optimization, it's all about being found. As we've said, some people struggle with the whole sort of thought of a website and it's quite techie, and I'm not a techie person. What do I do? If you think about the website, this is what I like to always think about it. It's a conversation. We're having a conversation through our website. And the conversation through our website should be explaining to our customers what we offer. And if you're selling direct, make it easy. How do I buy? Where do I find more information? Do I clearly describe what it is we're selling and the value that this brings? So try and think about your website, if you can, as it's a portal where you can have really good conversation with the world. And the more specific you can be with that content, with your customer in mind, the more likely that connection you're going to make. So that's what day one is about. We're then going to move on to day two on Thursday with the guys from Marwick Marketing. Content is king. It's all about the content. Okay. If we've got a website that we build and then don't do anything with, don't update it, don't put links into it to drive the traffic to us for like 6 months, it's not going to ultimately be working for us, you know. So content is king. We're going to talk about owned, what we are in control of, earned, what we can get from the information that we send out, and the paid, as we've talked about what we're going to do. So that's going to be a really good session, day two. Yep. So day three with Sarah Pugh from 8wire. What do you want your website visitor to do? Okay. Once they get there, what's the goal? What's the objective? Where do we want to send them? What's the action we want them to take? Buy now, contact us, find out more. You know, we've really got to think about these things. You know, if we're talking about the other side of a screen is a human being, if we haven't got that face-to-face conversation, but if we did have, what would we be asking them to do in this shop of ours or in this building and business of ours? What's the goal? So that's what the day three really valuable session is. And then day four, as we've talked about there, Google Analytics. What gets measures gets improved. It should be like that even with your offline marketing. Has it worked? What did we want it to do? Has it achieved its goals? This is what Sarah's going to be looking and taking us through. Really valuable session. And action planning. What have we learned from these 4 sessions? Where do we want to take this? What do we need to do? What are the priorities for us as businesses for our websites? It will be an ever evolving job of work, but we've got to get our priorities in place. Okay, so these sessions are going to help you hopefully to do that. Before we move on, Sarah, onto that next slide, it's really important. These sessions are built and delivered in a certain way, that they are knitted together. We take you through a journey. Someone's got their mic open, I think. If they could maybe just shut that, just getting a bit of feedback. Thanks. They are knitted together. They take you on a journey. So we'd really encourage you to, as best you can, to be here for those 4 sessions. They are knitted together and they have an obvious journey that we take you through on that. So great. So that's what we've got on the 4 days. So hopefully you have all received your workbook. Okay, so we've got breakout rooms, we've got places and areas in which we're going to ask you to commit your thinking, ideas, those priorities that we've just talked about, to put them down on paper. We want you to create a record of actions and activity and thinking, because we know what it's like running a business. I ran my own agency for 13 years. It's a busy, multi-directional task. I'm doing new biz, I'm doing HR, I'm doing the accounts, I'm doing, you know, if we don't commit some of these things to paper, they probably get lost simply in these sessions because we're going through a lot as well. If you haven't got the workbooks yet, speak to Jules. We'll sort you out and get one to you. Thanks, Sarah. Right. So starting into the meat of today. We want to think about those sources of traffic to your website. If we think about the as we see it there on screen, there's the computer. Our website is sitting on it. The website is, for many of us, at the heart of our business, especially if we're selling online. Okay, especially if we're selling our goods and services online. It sits there. But around our website and out there in the world, where's it linked? Where does it appear? How do people find us? Do we know? Is the question. And this is what this little section is about. We're going to run into a practical session in a moment on this. And you're all going to be at different stages on this journey for you. And some of you are going to be on it and you'll say, yep, I know exactly where it is. For others, you might not be too sure. Where are we found? Let's think about these online sources. So Sarah, if you could just put some of those up. So we've got some examples of these online resources that we can use, that are web address, that directions to specific pages on a website could sit. So in a particular order, sorry. So I'm going to start down there. Email marketing. If you're building a database of contacts, you've got a rich supply of people's addresses, customers' details. Are we keeping talking to them? Do we have that database where we're going, oh, I've got a new product or a new service, or we're doing this promotion? how are we keeping in touch with our customers that we've got or have made inquiries or we've sold to in the past? Email marketing is an absolutely fantastic opportunity to keep the conversation going. They may come back and buy, or they may just be your sales force on your behalf when they're out having chats with friends and family. White papers, we're really experts at what we do. Here's some thinking. We're going to put that out into the internet, onto our website, share that with people. Information sharing is always a great tool and tactic to get people coming back to your website. Pay-per-click, we're going to come on to that in another session in terms of paying for that traffic. Other online presence, are we in other people's databases, lists? There's sort of Wed magazine based here in Cornwall, down in Penzance. They're for all things wedding. They appear at #1 on the Google searches. So if you want to be on their database for involved in the wedding industry, to be on their website really helps, because you are going to appear as a result of all of their 10 years of getting to #1 in most of the organic Google rankings. So could we be on other platforms? Guest blogs, people writing about how good you are, what your services are and what they do. Your own blogs. Again, content, we're going to come on to that in the next session. Content is king. What are we doing to keep our websites updated? Video is a super resource nowadays. YouTube, I think Sarah will back me up maybe on this, second search engine referrer after Google. So if you can get some video content in there, really, really rich and a good way to engage people, because that's ultimately what we're trying to do with our websites. If we think about it, we're trying to engage people, trying to get them interested in what it is we're doing. So video is a really good way to do that. Ebooks, a bit like white papers. Organic social, so we talked about organic, so social media in there as well, and then maybe some advertising if that's relevant. Okay, and for you guys, it's what's relevant. You've got to put your customer glasses on. You've got to walk in the shoes of your customers. Yes, we own the business. Yes, we're responsible for our websites. What journey is our customer going on to actually find us? And we'll come on to that, particularly in the next session. But I'd really recommend you take that journey. Find not you specifically yet, but what it is you're offering. But we'll come on to that in a later session. But be the customer from time to time. Also, although we may have an online presence and we want to drive people to our website, let's think about the offline ways that people are going to get to my website. So it could be some QR codes. Years ago, they first came, they were clunky, they didn't work. Now they are slick. They work beautifully. And COVID has I think has had a great deal to do with that. You know, they are for certain types of businesses a really cool piece of tech to be able to use. It could be a footer in an email, a link that you're sending out. Magazine advert, okay? Radio advert. And these are just examples. Vehicle graphics. Oh, I've seen that. I'm driving past that. What do we do when we see that physical sign? Often, I know what I do. I'll check them out later. I'm like, I'll just Google them and see if they are what I think they are. We do that. So there's another way. Word of mouth, super, super strong. You want to check these guys out. I do it almost weekly. Check those guys out. I'm straight onto Google, or I'm straight onto looking for their specific website. Might be a flyer, might be a press release, could be a shop window or physical merchandise. So although we're in these sessions talking about the online presence, let's also think about the offline routes to your website that people can take. Okay, because this is all about your website being found by the right people, by hopefully your type of customers. Okay, on we go, Sam.
Sorry, can I just make a quick question? Is that all right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I did have my website up and I took it down because I wasn't sort of getting the traffic that I should have been getting. And then when I've researched about especially Google SEOing, I found it's more than just sort of advertising and keywords now. I found that it's sort of like, apparently, as I said, I'm quite new to this, but say apparently you could be able to put a load of keywords in and sort of be able to sort of jump up Google's rankings to sort of get like a few hits sort of a few years ago. But they were saying that the AI now of SEOing has adapted and got more sort of intelligent to the point where it looks at site speed, it looks how long people are on your website, it looks at conversion rates, it looks at even like dispatches and delivery times, just to see if it's worth pushing traffic to your website. And to the point now where I'm only on eBay at the moment because I found my website isn't good enough at the moment to be even start ranking, if you know what I mean, on SEO, and until I've got the site speed,
Yeah.
the ease, the side carts and the email dropping and the footers and everything else to basically keep people on my site. So yeah, that's sort of where I'm at the moment. It's sort of like,
Yeah.
well, I'm not even, my website is because like I say, it was just a Shopify one, to the point I've
Yeah.
had to sort of go back and recode it because it wasn't, it was good, but it wasn't what I wanted, and it wasn't, I don't think, what sort of Google or the SEOins want, if you know what I mean. So
I hear you, Aaron. I hear you. And whilst this is, you know, your website isn't up, you're in the right place. This is all I'm going to say. So we're really going to be taking you through some of those things you've talked about, the SEO, the content. Can I just put a load of keywords up? No, is the answer, because you're right. You've identified that actually you almost get sort of marked down for just kind of putting a load of keywords in. We are going to take you on these 4 sessions through that journey about things like site speed. So yeah, you're in the right place. We'll take you on this journey, and
yeah,
we'll talk to you.
it's just like I think, oh yeah, that's cool. You know, you sort of, you deep into it and go, oh yeah, SEO and keywords and bits, I can get ranking and I can pay a bit. But actual fact, when I've started researching, I'm quite daunted by how much stuff I actually need to be doing, especially organically. I mean, obviously I can pay and pay and pay. But yeah, it's just when I start looking into it, it's just like, actual fact, I need to get my foundations properly sorted.
That's the thing. Okay. And that's a great, yeah. So thanks for sharing that. You're absolutely right. For me, this is like, what we're here to do is build those foundations. Okay. As we said from the start, for some people, it's like, this is quite daunting. I don't understand some of these words or phrases or what I'm meant to be doing with it. So we're going to take you through that process. This is, for me, it's like, can we get those foundations in place, those real solid basics? If we can help you do that, demystify, explain some of those key fundamentals to you to get you up and running, or if some of you are already there, to go, actually, that bit is missing on my website currently. Oh, that's an interesting point. I need to create more regular content that reinforces my keywords and my phrases. Okay, so, and then once we've got those foundations in place, it's a bit like riding a bike for me anyway. You know, we're up and running then, and then it's about maintaining. Can we get that momentum? Yeah, and then occasionally we're going to update our bike and we're going to add a few more bits of functionality on there, but have we got that momentum? Are we talking? Are we keeping pace? So yeah, Aaron, thank you for that, and you're in the right place.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I even found out that even copying and pasting, like from one part, like an item description, you get penalised for that, because Google saying, well, if you can't be, you know, if you can't spend the time sort of typing it all in and just going to copy paste, we'll sort of like,
Yeah.
And I was just like, really?
Yeah,
Can
well,
I just
you know,
jump in there, Graham? Is it okay?
yeah, Sarah, do.
Aaron, you're so in the right place. I'm really glad you're on this workshop, because we will be, over these 4 sessions, totally delving into all of those, every single area that you've just mentioned, we go into detail on, which is brilliant. And the world has changed, the world of the internet and having a website has changed. And I should know, because I started working in the internet world in the 90s. And I remember how easy it was to launch a website, bung it out there, and it would just magically happen. You know, business would happen, sales would happen, traffic would just gradually grow, and you pretty much wouldn't have to do anything to make that happen, because there weren't many websites out there. And the world has changed now. And for anyone in business that wants to drive traffic, whether you're in a service-based business or product-based business, having a website and marketing that website is almost a job in itself, because a lot needs to happen and be done to make sure that you're within a chance of getting some traffic I actually think, Aaron, that you ought to put your website back up, because one of the things Google doesn't like is domain names that don't have any history. So if you're down and up on the internet and Google, they're not finding you, that probably will give you a couple of thumbs down points with Google as well. So it might just be worth, even if you've got a holding page up there with some content on it, with your value proposition, having something that generates a bit of history for your domain name, even if it's not doing very much, can actually be really beneficial for the business.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment it's just up as an e-commerce website to say that shop's opening soon. That's all I've got.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
But at least you've got something online, the domain name, because a bit of history, Google do look at that. They do look at the history of the domain name, which is how sometimes you look at a competitor and say, how on earth are they above me in Google when their website is so rubbish? Like, look, they haven't even updated it for the last whatever. Sometimes that is down to the fact that domain name, their URL, has got another 15 years worth of history in it and you haven't. And sometimes that is the difference.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, I just wanted to jump in there.
Yeah, no, valuable input. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, Aaron.
Thank
So
you.
cool. Okay, so back to everyone in the room. Where do you think you are at the moment? So, when we think about ourselves, where do we appear? What comes up? Okay, so this is leading us nicely into our first practical session on there. So have we got another slide to take us into that, just to explain what it is we're doing, or Yes, so breakout room exercise number 1. We're leading you into this. As we said, we're going to build over the next 4 or through this 4 workshop series and build onto that. But we want to start here and just find out a baseline level, your business name, your brand, the product, service, and just do a Google search and see what comes up. Okay, we want you to know, as we sit here today, for your business name, your brand and your product service, where do you appear? Where's your footprint? Where are you? And so let's do that. We want you to do that practically in the room. I'm going to take you into the breakout rooms in a minute. Question here: are there any surprises? Are you in places you didn't even realize you were? Did you think you'd be somewhere and you're not? So interrogate the findings. Is there a discussion? Feel free. The breakout rooms are a great place to also have a chat with people in the room. Share your findings if you choose to. Are you surprised by anything? And then, as we've said there at the end, consider any sources of traffic to your website coming from the offline channels as well. Okay, so anecdotally, hopefully you're all talking to your customers and asking questions about, where did you hear about us? Where did you find us? What were the processes you went through to find us? Because often it's word of mouth, goes to Google search, goes to website, might go to social media. So think about those things as well. The offline channels, how are people finding? So hopefully that's pretty straightforward. Any questions, do ask in the chat. Jules, if you could put the guys now into the breakout rooms we've got for this.
We're back at 10:15, Graham.
10:15. So just 13 minutes, guys. So enjoy this time. Let's have a look and see what comes back. And then when we come back, we'll have a chat. Breakout rooms are open.
I thought I'd unmute myself then. Yeah, you should have something come up on your screen.
Thanks, Jules. So we've got Gillian and Chris, Karen. You're muted, I think, Jules. I can't hear what you're saying.
I keep doing it the wrong way around. Karen's joined. She's got here twice magically. I think she must be using 2 devices to access.
Okay, fair. Yeah.
Jill, Chris, are you around? Just join your breakout rooms.
No, doesn't look like it. We'll leave them there in case they come back, I guess. Unless you can't, can you put them into their rooms, or do they have to opt to go in?
This meeting is being recorded.
Right. Someone has their mic open with loads of feedback, so if you could just close that, that'd be amazing. Thank you. So hopefully you found some benefit in just seeing from a starting point where we are, where we appear. May have been some surprises. Often we get people going, I didn't even know my website was listed there. What was that about? So I'm just going to do a quick whistle stop tour around the facilitators in the room, just to get a sense so that we can share that sort of feedback and what people were getting. So, Karen, on your room, how did you get on? What were the sort of findings?
Yeah, good. We very weirdly could hear you and Jules in our room. So
I'm so sorry.
we were just talking, and then all of a sudden we could hear you two chatting. It was very, very strange. But anyway, good sort of conversations in ours. So we were just all having a little look. Google My Business came up for once quite a lot. Some of us had forgotten that we'd set it up. So we were just remembering that we'd set that up. And obviously we were talking about the fact that if we keep it updated, you know, how useful that can be. Websites, Instagram, Facebook, all the kind of usual things coming up really.
Yeah. Any surprises or?
Not really. We had one where Facebook account was coming up higher than the website, which was something that we were just sort of talking about. And also for that particular one, when the lady was searching for the website, it had to be very specific in the name.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thanks for that. Liv, how did you get on in your room?
Similar really, although we had the kind of displaying on other said websites without realizing, and having links coming from sort of slightly not rogue but other sources that they weren't quite aware of, or how they'd got there. Sort
of unknown.
Yeah,
like you're saying. Okay, yeah, good. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Andrew, thought any additional ones for yourself?
Yeah, great. It's quite similar from our room. We were talking around Facebook and Instagram. There was other stockists. We had Not on the High Street and Pinterest, as well as some videos. I think what we found was people found that I think the company name gave more visibility, but when we looked at some of the product types and names, it went a bit blurry as to the visibility on that. From a surprise side, two different ladies found that one had a product that was selling cheaper on like a selling platform, and another lady found that there was a business address that was incorrect, that looked like it was being sort of piggybacked on almost. So we don't know whether there's something there that other people have found, some surprises, that there's any hints and tips that they can solve that one.
Good. Okay, we'll come on to that. Thanks Andrew. Good feedback. Deb?
Probably not so much detail from our room, but we had some businesses that were way down the line in terms of establishment of website, etc., and some that were doing paid, some that were doing mainly sort of owned media and a little bit of earned. So we just generally had a little chat around what the businesses do.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that's good. And then Sarah, last one. How did you get on?
Yeah, we had some great conversations. Interesting. So usual kind of stuff. Some interesting things that came out were people were finding old content, old references, old images, old references to things from the past. And that's quite an interesting one to bear in mind, because once it's out there in Google, it is out there in Google. So it's worth keeping an eye on that. And the lovely Rebecca from Wild Cornish Soap also raised something that I'm going to be talking about in a minute, and that is doing the same exercise on Bing, the search engine Bing. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but that's quite an interesting one to do. And if anyone else in this room is trapped, as Pamela is, in having Bing as their search engine and they don't know how to get out of that, please let us know in the chat, because we are going to help you to get away from Bing as your search engine, so that you can have a choice. You can still use it if you like it, but you can also use Google. Brilliant. So yeah, that was our room. Really interesting.
Interesting. And it comes up for me when I hear the feedback as well is, are we thinking about our customers? Ultimately, when our websites are there as tools for us to sell our products, our services, and we've heard about all these different platforms that people are appearing, is that where their customers are going to find what it is you're offering through your business? Is that platform the right one? Do you know what I mean? So, because, you know, in this digital world, it's so easy, isn't it, to go, let's do marketing through LinkedIn, let's do it through Insta, let's do it through. But the question as a marketeer for me always comes up, is that where my customer's going to find out what it is I'm asking for? So there's some discernment. I think the word discernment comes up for me around knowing the process that our customers go through. So this exercise is actually a good one, isn't it? I think even in referencing that.
And removing any barriers. I was sharing in the room, I don't know if any of you are aware of this, but there is an organization in America called Unlocking Potential, and they're a charity, I think. And whenever you Google Unlocking Potential, you have the option to go to their website, and they've got nothing to do with us, but we are aware of that. And, you know, are you aware that there are any other organizations out there that have a similar name or a similar brand to yours? And you're losing traffic to them because you're not aware of them. So yeah, it's a good warm-up exercise, Graham. Exactly. I feel like we're all limbered a bit now, aren't we?
We've got a bit of thinking, going on. Yes, yeah. exactly. So rather than go straight into then the next sort of physical exercise, we're going to have a break. So we've got 5 minutes there.
No. We are not going for a coffee break until 10:55.
Apologies. I'm sorry to get everyone excited about that. I do apologise.
One of us knows what's going on, and that's all that matters.
Well done.
You're not having a break yet because we've only just stretch. We haven't even worked up a sweat yet. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go into this next session, which is a bit of an intro into the world of search engines. For some of you, this is going to be like, oh, I know all this. I understand all this. So it's not going to be kind of groundbreaking. But for other people in the room, this might be a really good way to start understanding how things work. So that's what we're going to do. And I've got you down for a coffee break, stretch your legs at 10:55 if we're on time. Okay, so I promise you will get a rest away from your screens in a minute. So I'm going to go back to sharing this presentation. Hopefully, here we go. Let's get back into presentation mode. Can you all see my screen okay? Yeah, lovely, thank you. Okay, right, so for anyone that hasn't met me yet, I'm Sarah, one of the UP team. My background before I joined UP was in web development, digital marketing, and much like Graham, I was doing it for far too long, and very early days of the internet when people asked what a website was and what it was for. So, you know, I've been on the journey, I understand the landscape, and I know why it's important. Also, interestingly, I've run my own business. So I've been on this journey that you've been on in terms of developing my own website, my own brand, and getting it out there and trying to generate traffic. So I've kind of been on both sides of the fence there. So hopefully that will give you a little bit of confidence in me. So the purpose of this session and why we've done this session, this is a gentle kind of intro into the whole of Digital Basecamp, is that even when you feel like you understand how something works and you understand the purpose of something, it's really good to go back to the beginning sometimes and just make sure that you understand how these things work, even though they're changing and developing all the time, because by having that understanding, it can change what you do and how you think about it. And what we want to do, Graham very kindly mentioned this earlier, and it's really important because it's where UP come from, Unlocking Potential, is about empowering you as business owners. Because as Aaron was mentioning earlier, it's not as simple as designing a website and bung it online and it all magically just happening for you. You know, there's quite a bit of work and effort that needs to go into this. And you need to, if you're the manager and wearing all the different hats, you need to have a good understanding of all of it because you're probably going to be doing most of it yourself. So we're going to just look at search engine land. Brief introduction, got a bit of a video so you don't have to listen to me too much. So Google, we talk about Google an awful lot, and Rebecca raised this in our breakout room. Google is not the only search engine in the whole world, but these are the 3 most used search engines in the UK. And Google have currently about 85% share, and it does change. It goes up and down, but not much. So Google really are, we say Google is king because it has a majority of search traffic. And we know that that's true because we look at that data. So Bing, interestingly, are owned by Microsoft, which will explain, if you have a Microsoft computer, why Bing is installed as the only search engine on that system. And Microsoft are going to do that because that's their search engine, and they would like you to use that, please. So as I said, anyone that wants to use Google and doesn't know how to do that, how to set that up on their machine, we're gonna help you do that. So Bing only have about 10 to 11% market share, depending on who you ask, of course. And Apple, who are another massive player in the tech world, they've got a deal with Google, which was quite a big win for them. So it means that all Apple products will now default to the Google search engine. And if you're, a bit historic like myself or Graham, you'll remember that it was always Safari for Apple back in the day. Now it's Google. So things have moved on. So there's a couple of other search engines you might have heard about, and I'm not going to lean on them too much. I'll just mention them. So there's one called Baidu, and that is the Chinese search engine, and it's government controlled and very heavily censored, and lots of regulations around Baidu. And then there is Yandex, which is exactly the same, and it's Russia's equivalent. So let's just have a quick look at Bing.
Sorry, what about like DuckDuckGo and all?
Yeah, in terms of market share, Aaron, they're just not, I'm talking about in the UK, the biggest kind of market share for search engines. There are others, there's lots out there, but they're in the very, very low percent. So we're not going to focus on them. All right. So in terms of Bing, this is what Bing say they have in terms of market share. So take it with a pinch of salt because this is from their perspective. If you ask Google how much market share Bing have, they'll give you different results. Bing is much, much bigger in the US, and you would understand that makes sense because of Microsoft's kind of power and control in the US, and they don't have quite so much power and control in the UK. But that's why it's such a big part of the US market and the US search market. And it's interesting for you to have an understanding of that and visibility of that, because if your business is going to be trading in the US, then Bing might be a search engine that you might want to pay a little bit of attention to. So it might be that you want to be doing some ads or some search engine optimization specifically for Bing if your customer base is in the US. So that's why we're kind of raising it here. But Google is going to be the search engine that we focus on for the majority of Basecamp for the reason that it has majority market share. So just want to talk very quickly about voice search and the voice search market. So this is an area that is growing massively, and it is going to continue to grow over the next kind of 5 to 10 years. Now, some of you might be using voice search every day as part and parcel of your normal life now. And for others, probably the older generation in the room, I would imagine, we're just not interested because we type, that's how we do it, and we don't use voice search. So obviously we know that Microsoft own Bing. So if you have a Dell computer and you ask that voice search, which is called Cortana, a question, it will Bing that. It will use the Bing search engine to find the answer. And Amazon's Alexa are also in a deal with Microsoft as well, and that actually puts Bing into 100 million households. And Alexa is also Facebook's portal of choice for voice search as well. So that's very worth knowing when we're looking at the relationships that these big players are having with these different platforms. So we know that Apple uses, their voice search is called Siri, and we know that that uses the Google search engine. Now, what's interesting about Google's voice search is that voice search has found that the search results appear higher for search voice search results. So the results are more likely to rank in the top 3 on desktop for that same query as if you Googled it. And that's because what Google is trying to do is improve the customer experience, and they're trying to gently push everybody into the future. They know the future is voice search. They know the younger audience base are using it, and they're trying to pull everyone along. And the best way for Google to do that usually is to start changing the results that people get by using different sorts of search. They know for a fact that anyone that's in business that's using Google, if they realize they're going to get higher rankings in the search results for using voice search kind of content and styles, then that's what they will focus on, and that's what they will start to do. So it's not something to be ignored. Voice search isn't faddy. It is something that's going to be part of our day-to-day lives over the next 5 or 10 years. So the reason I'm raising this now is that when we're thinking about your website and your content and how we get ourselves out there in the search engine market, it's really important to think about the difference between when you type in a search result, that typed content, and the style of conversation that people will have when they do a voice search. It's a different kind of style. People are going to use different words. People are going to think differently. When you ask something a question verbally, it's much more of a conversational kind of search. And if you can understand that and start to address that in the content of your website in terms of answering sorts of questions that people might pop into that search engine, then you're more likely to have better results from voice search, and that can help to inform your content design when you're planning out your website, you're planning out your blog posts, and you're thinking about what content do I need to write, and you're thinking about those questions that people might actually do using voice search. So I've got a video for you, and forgive me if this feels a little bit noddy, but for the beginners in the room, just give you an idea on how search engines actually work, and it might take you back to the beginning a little bit. This video is just loading, it's not dead, there we go. And I guarantee that everyone in the room, once you've seen this, is going to be thinking about lasagna. Here we go.
Kinds of things. Sometimes we even get questions about Google search itself, like how this whole thing actually works.
I'm just going to restart that because I think that didn't start properly from the beginning. Here we go. Better?
Every day, billions of people come here with questions about all kinds of things. Sometimes we even get questions about Google search itself, like how this whole thing actually works. And while this is a subject entire books have been written about, there's a good chance you're in the market for something a little more concise. So let's say it's getting close to dinner and you want a recipe for lasagna. You've probably seen this before, but let's go a little deeper. Since the beginning, back when the homepage looked like this, Google has been continuously mapping the web, hundreds of billions of pages, to create something called an index. Think of it as the giant library we look through whenever you do a search for lasagna or anything else. Now, the word lasagna shows up a lot on the web. Pages about the history of lasagna, articles by scientists whose last name happened to be lasagna, stuff other people might be looking for. But if you're hungry, randomly clicking through millions of links is no fun. This is where Google's ranking algorithms come into play. First, they try to understand what you're looking for, so they can be helpful even if you don't know exactly the right words to use or if your spelling is a little off. Then they sift through millions of possible matches in the index and automatically assemble a page that tries to put the most relevant information up top for you to choose from. Okay, now we have some results. But how did the algorithms actually decide what made it onto the first page? There are hundreds of factors that go into ranking search results, so let's talk about a few of them. You may already know that pages containing the words you search for are more likely to end up at the top. No surprise there. But the location of those words, like in the page's title or in an image's caption, those are factors too. There's a lot more to ranking than just words. Back when Google got started, we looked at how pages link to each other to better understand what pages were about and how important and trustworthy they seemed. Today, linking is still an important factor. Another factor is location, where a search happens. Because if you happen to be in Ormea, Italy, you might be looking for information about their annual lasagna festival. But if you're in Omaha, Nebraska, you probably aren't. When a web page was uploaded is an important factor too. Pages published more recently often have more accurate information, especially in the case of a rapidly developing news story. Of course, not every site on the web is trying to be helpful. Just like with robocalls on your phone or spam in your email, there are a lot of sites that only exist to scam, and every day scammers upload millions more of them. So just because instantvirusdownload.net lists the words lasagna recipe 400 times, that doesn't mean it's going to help you make dinner. We spend a lot of time trying to stay one step ahead of tricks like these, making sure our algorithms can recognize scam sites and flag them before they make it to your search results page. So let's review. Billions of times a day, whenever someone searches for lasagna, or resume writing tips, or how to swaddle a baby, or anything else, Google software locates all the potentially relevant results on the web, removes all the spam, and ranks them based on hundreds of factors like keywords, links, location, and freshness. Okay, good time to take a breath. This last part is about how we make changes to search, and it's important. Since 1998, when Google went online, people seem to have found our results pretty helpful. But the web is always changing, and people are always searching for new things. In fact, 1 in every 7 searches is for something that's never been typed into the search box before, by anyone, ever. So we're always working on updates to search, thousands every year. Which brings up a big question. How do we decide whether a change is making search more helpful? Well, one of the ways we evaluate potential updates to search is by asking people like you. Every day, thousands of search quality raters look at samples of search results side by side, then give feedback about the relevance and reliability of the information. To make sure those evaluations are consistent, the raters follow a list of search quality evaluator guidelines. Think of them as our publicly available guide to what makes a good result good. Oh, and one last thing to remember. We use responses from raters to evaluate changes, but they don't directly impact how search results are ranked. So there you have it. Every time you click search, our algorithms are analyzing the meaning of the words in your search, matching them to the content on the web, understanding what content is most likely to be helpful and reliable, and then automatically putting it all together in a neatly organized page designed to get you the info you need. All in, 0.81 seconds? Wow. Anyone else ready for dinner? Interested in learning more?
Lovely. Okay, so we are all definitely having lasagna for lunch or dinner tonight, I would imagine. I hope that that was helpful and gave for anyone who's not really clear how it all works in terms of the technology behind search, whether we're talking about Google or Bing or any other search engines. It's interesting to know what it is that they're actually trying to achieve for us, the users, and us, the customers of those search engines. It's good to remember that. Okay, so making sure then we know from the video that you're actually being indexed by Google could actually be the first battle that you might need to encounter. So there's a little test that you can do here. And you'll see that I've used Google. You can use whatever search engine you like. If you type in the word site and colon, and then your web address without the W's or the HTTPS, you should be able to see how many pages your site has been indexed by the search engine in question. You should be able to see how many pages. So you can try this now. You can do it now if you like. You can do it later if you like. And just have a look, because you might find that there are more than you were thinking about. You might find old content on there. You might not find any content on there. And it might be that it's highlighting an issue that your website isn't actually being indexed yet. And that could end up being a task on your little task list. So more important than how often Google is actually indexing your site is how many pages it's indexing. So if you don't have to submit your website to the search engines, it will eventually come across your website. In time, it will eventually crawl the internet and find you, but there is a way of making sure that when you do put your website up or you make any significant changes to it, that you submit it to the search engines. And one of the ways of doing that in Google is by using a tool called Google Search Console. And we're going to be talking about that and explaining that on day 4. And actually in our second session with Marwick Marketing, they're going to be talking a bit about the importance of a tool called Google Search Console. So we were looking at how sites are ranked in the video. So I'm not going to hang on this slide for too long. I'm just going to leave that up there just for a minute. So just to go over the concept that Google uses algorithms, there are lots of factors at play in terms of how search engines decide that a result or a website is a good one, is worthy to deliver in the top spot, if you like. And just for a bit of fun, I Googled who is the best website in the whole wide world. And funnily enough, doing that search on Google, gives you Google. Google is the top website in the whole wide world. I don't know if they fixed that, but I can imagine how that's worked. So they look at all these things, search intent, Google tries to work out what is it this person is actually looking for help with. Are they looking to buy something? Are they looking for information? Are they looking for facts? Google with and all the kind of, artificial intelligence that's going on behind the scenes these days, it's really clever at working out the style of the search that somebody uses, what their intent is, and that will change the results that they show. It'll also look at things like website usability. So that's whether your website works on a mobile device as well as on a laptop computer, for example. If it's really slow, if the site speed is super slow, that will give you kind of, thumbs down points, if you like, from Google. So it's taken into account all of those factors. And also page rank, and we've got authority there, and links and history. And that's all about how this particular search engine thinks that you are an authority. How do they think you really are the best person to be answering that kind of question? And there's ways around kind of generating more authority for your website. And we'll talk about that more in a bit as well. They'll also look at things like click-through data. Aaron was mentioning that earlier. They do actually look at results, and do people click on those results? And if they do, well, we must have showed a really good answer to that question, and we'll show it again. So that plays an important part. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot to it. So I want to just look at this area very quickly, and I'm keeping a really close eye on time because I'm not going to overrun into your coffee break. I'm going to try not to anyway. If you've ever heard of this term, SERPs, it's kind of jargony. So we're going to unjargony it for you. So SERPs is a term that lots of marketing and web development companies use as slang or acronym, stands for Search Engine Results Pages. And it is really important to understand what it means and what search engine results pages look like, because they've changed massively over the years. And I remember, and older people in the room will remember what Google used to look like probably back in the day when it was all just a big list. And then when things changed and the ads came in, the ads used to appear at the top. And I mean, it's changed tenfold over the years. So, there are now, just in case anyone's interested, 16 different types of result type on a Google search results page. So 16 different ways that Google, in this instance, can deliver the results related to the search that you've asked it for. So that's quite a lot of different ways. And we're not going to go through all of them because we haven't got time today, but we are going to be thinking about which are the important ones to be focused on, and what does your website look like? How is it presented in the search results in terms of which one of these different sorts of SERP listings you are appearing for? So we have a featured snippet, which is usually position 0 on Google, and that will appear above your organic search results. We'll have things like rich snippets, and I'm going to show you what these look like in just a second. And these tend to add a different layer to a search engine result. So that might be by adding review stars, if you've got the ability for people to give you star ratings or anything like that on your website. We've got paid results. So that's where you'll generally see the ads, and they have to now state that something is an ad so that users know that they're not, they are actually going to be, those businesses are paying to be there and are not there just from natural merit. And then we have things called knowledge graphs. And these usually appear as panels and boxes. So that's usually for things like weather or celebrity information, Wikipedia pages. So let's just have a look at some of these SERP features and the most popular types of SERP feature. So Kermit the Frog, one of my favorites. Kermit the Frog is a meme. For anyone that doesn't know what a meme is, I'm not going into that. So we'll see here that lots of different types of search results just for this one search, Kermit the Frog. So we've got our rich result, which is our organic listing, and that is Wikipedia. And then we've got our rich card, and a rich card and a rich answer tend to be the same sort of thing, but it depends if you're looking on a desktop computer or a mobile phone, where lots of things now on mobile views are appearing in card format because it's more user-friendly for the user. And then we also have knowledge panels, which we can see over on the right here, which you will usually see for brands or organizations or, questions where people ask, what is or why is. You'll very often see those results delivered in a knowledge panel. And most interesting to me, and I'm fascinated by this, is that people always ask results. You'll see this quite a lot. So this is in the middle here. So you'll see this quite a lot on Google now, especially. People also ask. And basically that's Google's way of trying to be more helpful, more useful for you. But if you as a business are doing some research on your business, your brand, your product, or your service, it's really interesting to take note of what people are also searching for, because what Google's doing is it's giving you some information there about some long tail keywords, which are keywords that have more than 1 or 2 words in them. And they're usually question based, and they're usually much more kind of voice search related. So when you actually look at those people also ask questions, you can get a real idea of how people relate from one search term to others. And it's a really useful way to start doing your sort of gentle research into your own business. So featured snippets are these are the ones that we want to be appearing for in search. So they're usually shown for questions like how to, what is, why is. So for this one, we've used why is Kermit a meme? And we've also got our people also asked responses there as well. So, how you can build this in and how you can start to understand this is to start looking at your site and see if you appear as a featured snippet when you search for your business name, and how your website is actually displaying in those search engines. And yes, you can do something to your website to change how it appears. And for some of you, depending on what software you use to power your website, some of you may already have all of this kind of software built in to your, Shopify is very likely to have this sort of stuff built in. WordPress, if you have a WordPress powered website, it will have technology built into some of the plugins that enable you to change how you appear in the search engines. The most important thing before you even think about these featured snippets is to get everything right. So to make sure that your site is usable, to make sure that it is fast, to make sure that it is responsive on a mobile, to make sure you've got all these little basic things ticked off on your list. So are you appearing as do you have a Google My Business page? Is that important for you? Is that kind of ticked? Does your website work on a mobile phone? Is that ticked? Have you gone through and made sure that all the content and images are up to date, and all those basics are in place? And if the answer is yes to that, then you can start looking at something called schema markup. So schema markup is also referred to as structured data. And now this is getting a bit techie, so please don't switch off, bear with me. There are some plugins that you can get that you can add to your website. And it basically, what it is it will tell the search engines what that page content is. And by doing that, it will give the search engine more opportunity to list it as a featured snippet. And it will give you more opportunity to have more impact in the search engines. So it makes sense to do it. So there are tools out there. I think I've got a link actually that one of the guys will share in the chat for you. A link to a bit more information about schema markup or structured data. There's a good blog post I'll share with you. For anyone that has a WordPress website, I will mention Yoast as an SEO tool. Yoast is a plugin, a free plugin that you can get for WordPress. And that actually has a paid version which does have this schema markup built into it. I'm not going to go into any more technical talk on schema markup because I'm sure I'm going to lose most of you. But do have a look at that because it's worth considering. So have a very quick look at this conversation, desktop and mobile. So now this has changed the landscape again. We know the landscape is changing all the time. But the impact on, traffic and search engine positioning, if you're looking at mobile search reviews and desktop search reviews, the results are very different. And the answer and the reason for that is not only because of the differences and the variety now of different search engine result page types and listings, but also just because of the real estate that the mobile phone has got to work with. It's never on a desktop, you've got this panel on the left-hand side, you've got the panel on the right-hand side. That's where your Google My Business comes in. You appear on the right-hand side, even if you're not right at the top on page one. On a mobile device, you haven't got that luxury. So if you understand which devices people come to your website from mostly, so if it's 60% mobile, 40% desktop, I'd be very interested to know, how do I appear on search on a mobile? Do it yourself and have a look. Am I still on page one? Do I appear on map results? Can you see my Google My Listings page? Is anyone ever actually going to find me on a mobile search? Because I'm literally on page, I'm scrolling, and I haven't even found myself. So that's really important thing to do if you know that the majority of your traffic is going to be coming from a mobile. And it's why we say, and we talk about websites needing to be mobile optimized and mobile friendly. And that goes for the marketing of your website as well. We need to consider looking at the website and looking at search results on different devices, because I promise you they will be completely different. Just checking on time, I'm going to have a very quick conversation on cookies, and I'm not going too deep into this because it's all up in the air and changing. Cookies and GDPR. I'm just going to mention this quickly because we would be totally remiss not to talk about what's changing out there in the world at the moment. So for anyone that doesn't know what cookies are a text file that's stored on a browser or on your computer by a website. And they're generally used, there's different types of cookies, but they're generally used so that people that own those websites can figure out who you are, where you came from, and which pages you went to. Sometimes they're used to actually make websites work, and sometimes they're used to track your activity. So there's different sorts of cookies. The important part of talking about cookies is that there are changes afoot. So you'll be aware of the dreaded GDPR regulations that came in some time ago now, and the mad panic rush that all these website owners in the EU, when we were still part of the EU, were putting up all these really annoying website banners, these cookie permissions banners that nobody really cares about and everybody just wants to get rid of so that they can get to the website, which is where they really want to get to. So when we left the EU, we changed from using the EU GDPR regulations to the UK GDPR regulations. So that was in 2021. And they were basically exactly the same as the EU regulations, meaning if you are taking any information, including analytics tracking or analytics data from people visiting your website, you had to get their permission. And by doing so, people would have to explicitly click on a button that says, you may track me, you know, I will agree to using these cookies or those cookies. So the change is potentially at the moment, there's a data reform bill currently being discussed in Parliament. And what's happening is the government, because we've left the EU, are trying to make it easier for businesses out there to get rid of any barriers to do business online. And what they're trying to do is remove the need for these cookie pop-ups, which can be real barriers. And the retailers and the big retailers out there are feeding back to the government. These are barriers to sales. They are barriers to entries on our website. Now, for the moment, this is not changing. So for the moment, you still need to be doing this. And the ICO, which is the Information Commissioner's Office, ICO.org, the link is on the screen there, is the place to go to check out what's changing, what do you need to know as a business, is there anything you need to do or anything you need to change. After I feel like a total liar now because I am in your coffee break, but don't worry, you will still get your coffee break. Lastly, just really quickly want to cover this very important point. Majority of people these days will have the padlock, which appears here when you are visiting a website. So the difference with not having the padlock is being secure or insecure. So this is just something else we must talk about because it's important for how well your website performs in the search engine. Google likes you to be secure these days. It never used to unless you were selling online or taking credit card information. But now, no matter what you're doing, what you're selling, it wants your website to be on a secure certificate. And I'm not going to talk about it really technical. But basically the difference is when you look at a domain name is you would have seen HTTP versus HTTPS. And the HTTP is the older version where you don't have any kind of authentication to prove that that domain name is yours and the website's all above board. And the secure certificate is just another kind of secure layer or a secure socket layer that proves that the domain name belongs to your business and you've proven that to somebody, to some kind of governing body. But at the end of the day, if Google care about it, if search engines care about it, and it gives you more brownie points and helps you perform better, then you guys need to know about it and you guys need to make sure. So there is a free secure certificate that you can get still, and it's through, you can pay for a secure certificate. It doesn't cost a huge amount of money. And most domain name companies where you buy your website domain names will usually offer to sell you one as part of the domain package, and you'll renew that every year or every 2 years. There is a free one if anyone's on a very tight budget and they don't have the HTTPS yet. You can get a free one from an organisation called Let's Encrypt, and we'll share that link with you in the chat, and it'll also be available on Moodle as well. So let'sencrypt.org allows you to grab free SSL certificates, giving you your padlock symbol. So we are going to go into coffee break, and before we go into the coffee break, I want you to think about what we're going to do when we come back from coffee. So when we come back from coffee, you're going to go into a breakout room, and I want you to think about everything we've just talked about. And I want you to think about what other people might think about when they're thinking about your product or service. What words would they use? What phrases would they use? So when we go into our breakout rooms, everyone is going to have a chance to very, very succinctly and briefly, because we've only got 20 minutes, describe their business or their product to everyone else in the room. And everyone else in the room is going to give you a couple of ideas of search phrases or questions that they might put into the search engines to look for your product or service. And the point of that is that it should help you understand how different people think. Because you'll have one way, one view, one set of words in your head. Everyone else will have different views and opinions. So that's the point. So we're going to go away for coffee now.
Sarah, we just got a couple of, can I just interrupt? Sorry, just a couple of questions.
Go
on. Rebecca is saying that she wants to better understand sort of things like site speed. Now, I think Sarah is going to pick this up in session 3 in particular, isn't she, about some of the limitations and actually some of the things we need to do to increase our site speed. So I'd certainly say that is going to be a rich resource of information for Sarah. For Rebecca on that one. Would you again?
So Sarah from 8Wire has a whole section on site speed, and will share a couple of tools with you where you can check your own site speed. So no point us discussing that, but you're going to have to come to session 3.
Pamela, I think she raised a question when we were first talking about indexing. Can you give details of how to access the site? She's put in site:/sweetpeaconfectionery.co.uk, and it just came up with a search page.
Yeah, Pamela, we'll take that online. I'll have a look at it for you and let you know if I find any issues.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. How long have we got for coffee?
Right. Well, we have got to have at least 10 minutes, haven't we? Because we've exhausted everybody. So we're a little bit late going to coffee, I think, aren't we, by 8 minutes. So we're going to have 10 minutes for coffee, basically, and be back at 11:13.
11:13. Yep, 11:13.
And we'll make up the plea. Filing back in gently. We're going to go into breakout rooms. This is our next thing. Hopefully, while you were making your tea or getting your water or your snack, you were thinking about, how am I going to describe my business to everyone in the room? And I want you to have pen and paper handy or your workbook, because I want you to note down what people say. Note down these keywords, these key phrases that people give you that they would search if they were looking for your business from their perspective, okay? So I think most people are back in the room now, and in order to catch up a bit of the overrun I've created, I'm going to say that we're going to nip into our breakout rooms. So anyone that isn't back yet, you'll probably still end up in reception, and I'm sure Jules will help you get to where you need to go. So we're going to have 20 minutes in the breakout rooms, please, Jules. Please be mindful that everybody needs a chance to have a speak. So please just try and be brief when you're describing your business. So when you're ready, Jules. Lovely. Jules, Graham is going into that breakout room, not me. How are we doing? We okay?
Karen was having some internet issues, so I've just let her back in. So
okay. Do you want me to jump into Karen's room while she's?
It looks like she's kind of in a
frozen state.
Halfway.
How are you doing there, Karen? Are you okay, Karen Bailey? You're on mute, lovely.
Karen Bailey she's here twice. There's two Karens.
Oh, we've got you double.
Isn't it? No. Sorry, Karen. Oh, that's weird. Because your other version is in the breakout room. An actual Karen is here.
We got a twin Karen.
You must be on two devices. Let me see how I'm going to have to move you, Karen. Karen, I'll have to move you. I can move you. I have to move you very quickly to room 2. And then, yeah, there's no other way of doing this, actually. Is there nothing on your screen that's asking you to go to a breakout room?
You're on mute, Karen.
Oh, she's gone. She's managed to find a way in.
Good. What about Pamela and Aaron? Victor?
Victor hasn't joined. Pamela isn't there yet, so she's not joined yet. She's not
okay.
Anything to join yet. And Victor, Aaron, Victor, Pamela, are you around? Rachel, I don't think. Oh yeah. I don't think Karen's got into a room, so I'm going to pop you into Karen's room, Sarah. Is that okay?
Okay. Do you want to pause recording on until we come back, Jules?
Yeah.
Restarting the recording. Lovely.
This meeting is being recorded.
Super. Thank you, Zoom. Lovely. So hopefully everyone got a chance to have a bit of a go around the room and ask some questions about what other people think. And maybe you've got some new ideas. And I really hope that most people have. And usually at this point, I would zip around all the breakout rooms and ask all my gorgeous facilitators for some feedback. And I'm not going to do that because we are very low on time. And we decided that we'd rather give you a bit more time in the breakout room than doing that. So apologies, facilitators, but really hope that that was useful. And if anyone raised any particular issues or problems in those breakout rooms, we will be made aware of them. And we will come back to you and help support you in any way we can. But I just want to move on now with this next bit of session so that we can get through this juicy bit, which is all about search engine optimization, which I know now, having been in a few of these breakout rooms with you, that this is going to be a useful way of getting your heads around this concept. So let me get back into the presentation so that we can have a talk about this. Right, so we've just done our breakout room. Let's just, let's get into presentation mode. Right. Okay. So SEO, one of those phrases that we hear bandied about all the time by people that know what it means and how it works and how to do it and how magic it is. So it stands for search engine optimization. And the point of it is to optimize your website and your content for the search engines in order to get you up higher in the results pages and essentially get you more traffic and hopefully, fingers crossed, if you've got a nice website, get you some more business, more sales, more inquiries, whatever that is. So SEO looks at lots of different things, which we've already talked about a little bit. It looks at how the search engines rank you. Do they think you're, are you an authority on a subject? Do you have a decent website? Do you have some nice keywords on your website so that when somebody is searching, it thinks to deliver your website as a result? It's going to look at analyzing those results and the click data. So how many people actually click on your website when it delivers you as a result? And that's when the search engines know that they're doing a good job and they do review that. And it'll also look at your site architecture. So how your website is built. So if you're someone that's got a really old website and it's not responsive and it could really use updating, that might be something you want to think about when we're looking at SEO. So it's got lots and lots of considerations. So something that's really important to point out is that you can make quite simple changes to the content, the words that appear on your website, that can have quite big impacts. And I've got a story to tell you to prove that point. So years ago, I used to, in my agency days, I used to work with a client who worked in a specific sector. And it was a heating oil, domestic heating oil supplier. And they use a lot of in-house jargon. They've been around for years. All their jargon was very, very familiar to all of them, and everyone in their industry used the same jargon. Now, what they realized was that they were appearing in lots of search engines, and that was great, but they just weren't getting the click-throughs, and they weren't getting inquiries and sales from their website. And they couldn't understand why. So they came to us and we did a review of the content on their website, the words on their website. And we went back to them and said, what does this mean? What does that mean? What does that refer to? And hardly any of us could really relate to anything that they were talking about because it was all lingo. It was all in-house kind of standardized lingo. And it wasn't the language that people out there, the customers they wanted to speak to, it wasn't the language they were using. So by simply doing some keyword research to find out what keywords do people actually use to find that website, we changed almost all the content and all the content on the site to make it customer focused, and their traffic and their conversion rate of their website went through the roof. It was such a simple exercise to do, but they've got so bogged down in that people understand what we do because we understand it, that they didn't even think to do that bit of work. So keyword research. Keyword research is something that I'm going to ask you guys to do before the next session on Thursday. Now, you may have done some keyword research before, and you may not have a Scooby on how to do any keyword research, and that's okay. And it might be something new to you. So I'm going to give you a few hints and tips on how we're going to do this. So there's a few tools that we're going to share with you in the chat. Don't worry if you're not happy to click on the links in the chat and open up new tabs. You can always come back to this later. We will share this with you. So one of the tools that you can use to do some keyword research is Google. Literally by just Googling keywords, you can get some ideas on the kind of keywords that people are using and the sorts of businesses that are appearing for those keywords. That's the kind of quick, dirty, easiest way to get started. And then there are other tools out there that you can use to get an idea of a range of different keywords, different versions of those keywords, and the kind of average search volume, which is what we talk about when we're doing keyword research. So if we're in quite a competitive market space and we've got a lot of people out there offering the same thing, we're going to want to get a little bit creative with the keywords that we use. Because if we use the same keywords that everyone else uses and it's competitive, we're going to struggle to get the kind of impact that we want. So Google Ads has its own keyword planner tool, and it's free to use. And we'll share that link with you. It's ads.google.com. And I think you have to give it a bit of info and save a credit card, but you don't have to actually put any money on that credit card. You don't need to spend anything to use the keyword tool. They just want to know that that you're a serious business before they'll let you use those tools. So that's one. And there's another one called Keyword Magic by an organization called SEM Rush. I'm going to try and show you what it looks like, just to kind of.
Sorry, do you mind if I
switch?
Or something? Is that all right or not? No.
Sorry, Aaron, what was that?
I was just going to say, I mean, I obviously I'm not on the Google SEO in. I was just on I'm only on eBay at the moment. But when you say about keywords, I changed a few keywords in my listings on eBay, and all I did was put affordable pricing and great customer service, those sorts of keywords. And I've noticed in 4 months and just changing that my sales have gone up nearly 50% conversion.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that, Aaron. Excellent. So anyone that's kind of using eBay specifically could try that. So that's a really good tip. So the keyword kind of research tools this one I'm showing you, this is free to use. There are loads out there. So I'm not particularly promoting one over another. I just wanted to show you what one looks like. So can you see my screen okay? Because I have switched between tabs. Can you see it? Just give me a nod, Jules. Yeah, thank you. Right. This is called Keyword Magic by SEMrush. We'll send you the link. And the idea is you put your keyword in the top here. So we've just put in business support, just as an example. You click on search. The information it's going to show you is going to be down here in this table around here. And what's nice about this tool, because it looks really complicated, and I can see people thinking, oh my God, I don't understand any of that. What's really nice about this is every single area that you hover over will give you a tooltip of information about what that means. And the important thing to consider here is that when you look at the keywords, so business support is our first keyword, we look at these figures, so volume, and that will tell you average monthly searches for that particular search phrase, okay? And then there's lots of other bits and pieces of information here that you can look at, but actually what's really important here is the average volume. So that's the one to have a look at. And what's also really helpful about this particular search is that you can click on the questions option over here, and this will help you to understand what kind of long tail keywords people might be popping in to by using voice search or by using typed Google search. So by going to questions, what the tool is doing is using those keywords we put in business support, and it's giving you some ideas of questions that are actually being asked in the search engines and how often they are being asked. So this is the area, if you're in a competitive market space, where you could actually start to make a little bit of headway by taking a different approach and by looking at some questions and this sort of long tail keyword approach where people are asking for more, asking for answers to questions more than just 2-word keywords. So that's a tool for you to try, and I could literally spend about 3 hours going through this tool and showing you lots of exciting features, and I'm not going to do that because we haven't got enough time, but I wanted to introduce it to you, and there are plenty of tools out there, lots of free options, and it's the reason I'm talking about that. Let me just go back to our main presentation. The reason I'm talking about keyword research is the majority of businesses I speak to, since I've been at UP, but also since I've been running my own business, have never undertaken any keyword research. And I find that quite fascinating. If somebody has a website and a business and they want to drive traffic to that website, by not understanding the language and the words and the phrases that people are actually using in real life to find businesses like yours, I don't understand how you can actually create content that's really going to work for the business. And there's a balance to be had here, because when you're writing content for your business, you've got to think about Google or Bing or whoever, whichever search engine you're thinking about, but you've also got to think about your customer. And there's a kind of a sweet spot when you're creating content on your website where, of course, you want to get across your value proposition. You want to tell people what you do and how wonderful you are and why they should be doing business with you. But also, you want to make sure that the search engines know that as well. So there's kind of a balancing act to be kind of reached when you're running a business. So there's some.
Sorry, another thing. Sorry to interrupt. Does Google sort of have a look at it as in a sentence, or can you sort of play it literally by having a look at the most popular sort of word search and just type a load of random stuff in it to try and get hit on SEO in or not?
No, I would never recommend going down the random route. I would spend a bit of time doing some quite detailed keyword research that is around focusing on those, you know, when we say keywords, we're talking, they're usually 1 or 2 words, very specific about what you do, yeah, or what your product or what your service is. When we look at long tail keywords, that's where the majority of searches, I think 80% of searches that are done on Google are long tail keywords. They're keywords that, because there's so many words in there, it's not very often that exact amount of words in that exact order has been searched for before. And that means that anyone that's struggling to get a bit of traffic can actually start to make a bit of traction there if they understand what these long tail keywords might be. And using a keyword research tool like the Keyword Magic and questions, that would be one way of looking at your original keywords and then looking at some potential long tail keywords that could be associated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But so what I'm saying is, if I was to sort of sell myself as, say, I don't know, say the word affordable, would cheap be more searched than affordable?
It will tell you. If you use a tool, it will tell you, because if you use the word affordable, it may or may not show you cheap, low cost. It will show you different versions of those keywords and which one has the most search volume.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, if I was to have a look through and what I thought how I would sell myself, sort of change it to make it more searched for, if that makes sense, worded. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is what I mean, Aaron. You've got to strike a balance, because it might be that your value proposition, you don't want to use the word cheap. That might not be good for you. So this is where the balance is with your brand, your customers. But at the end of the day, if you are desperately trying to generate that traffic, it might be that that word is the word that you need to use. If people aren't using any other of those phrases, that might be the word that you need to use. But it's all about the research, okay? So let's just move on. We're going to share, I've mentioned all of these tools to you, and we're going to share the links to all of these tools, and there will be others that you will find. But as long as you go away and give this a go, just try and do some keyword research, I promise you, you will learn something that you didn't know before if you've never done it before. Okay, so the other important thing to consider about keywords is actually where they go. So when you, this is another common mistake that people make when they are using keywords and key phrases. So keywords need to appear in certain areas on your website in order for the search engines to give you a few brownie points in terms of, yes, that is related because it's in the URL. Yes, that makes sense. We'll give you another brownie point because the image also has the keyword in it. So back in the day when the internet started out, what you'd often see, if anyone remembers this, is websites that had this bit at the bottom that was stuffed with keywords, and we called it keyword stuffing because the search engines hadn't worked out at that point that all you had to do was mention the word, you know, apple pie 150 times and you'd appear at number 1. So that doesn't work anymore. And, you know, the search engines are much more, they're much more smart at working out who is actually an authority on this subject. So here's an example for you about where you might put your keywords on your website. So this is Code Solicitors, local solicitors in Cornwall, and their keyword is commercial disputes. Now you will see that commercial disputes is in the page title name. So that appears up here because I'm looking at it in Chrome. So that appears in the page title. It also appears in the URL. This is something that's very simple to do with an SEO tool or a plugin for your website. And most people don't put their keywords in the URLs. So it's a quick win. We also see this keyword behind the scenes on the image on the page, which also has some alt text, which tells the search engines what the image is about and what it's for. So we're telling Google, well, this image is about commercial disputes, although it's a picture of some buildings. We've also got the keyword in the first line of copy on the page. Now, if anyone has a WordPress website and uses this tool that I often talk about a lot, called Yoast, which is spelled Y-O-A-S-T. Yoast is a free SEO plugin tool, and there will be other plugins for other software, whatever software you're using for your website. There is more than likely going to be an SEO plugin tool for you. But what Yoast does is Yoast is so easy if you're quite new to this SEO malarkey. Yoast will give you a traffic light system on every page of your website. And it will give you red, amber, green. And if everything is red, all your traffic lights are red, it will tell you what it is you need to change, what you need to do to make it amber or green. And if you're competitive like me, I will literally not give up until I have everything green. And sometimes it's not always possible to have all your traffic lights green. Sometimes, it is a tool at the end of the day. Sometimes the most you can do is get it to amber, and that's the best you can do. But if you use a tool like that, it can really help you start to think about where the keywords need to be in order for the search engines to give you those kind of brownie points and give you those thumbs up. So just to be clear, your keywords and where to put them. So they should appear in your title tag. I'm not going to read out all these bullet points. You can see all these bullet points on the screen. The keyword at the start bit is a little bit of SEO kind of secrecy, if you like. So adding your keyword at the start of a paragraph of copy on your web page is a nice little trick to do. Because when Google has a look at the content on your site, it doesn't look at it like we do with all the lovely design elements. It looks at it from a code perspective. And actually, it's looking for the tags that say, this is a keyword, this is a title, this is a whatever. That's how Google looks at it when it's deciding how to rank you. And your meta page description should be unique, ideally, for every page. There are limiters and recommendations about how many characters and words you should have on a particular page. But the most important thing is, have a keyword, have a key phrase for every page on your website. Have something different for every page on your website. And on your homepage, your key phrase should be your business name or your value proposition. Because your homepage usually is one page that talks about lots of different things and directs people to lots of different areas. So it's on all these other pages that we want to think about really generating that nice organic traffic by having focused keywords.
Sarah, quick question from Pamela. She
on.
has a WordPress website. When she looks at Yoast, it wants me to subscribe. Do you think it is worth paying for this?
You don't have to, Pamela. You can use the free version. But if you want to use things like keyword research or the schema markup that we were talking about earlier, they are only available in the pro version of Yoast. So I've used the Yoast SEO tool very, very successfully without paying for the paid for version. And that's absolutely fine. But if you want to use some of the snazzier features that it's got, yes, you may have to pay for it. But, have a look at the pricing and just make sure that fits with what you can afford to pay. And
can I just ask, does it, because there's loads of things I don't really understand. I don't really understand what a meta description is. And when I go into my pages and my products, those areas are blank, meta description.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm always really hesitant about putting anything in because I don't know what I'm putting in. I don't want to screw it up.
Have you done any research into what a meta description is?
I've got to admit I haven't, because I just haven't had the time to do any of those things.
So usually if you've got the Yoast tool, Pamela, the nice thing about that is it's quite user-friendly for beginners. And usually if it asks you to write a description, it will tell you what it is it wants you to say.
Okay.
And usually a meta description is a very short summary of what you want to say about that particular product. And it's the bit that you see in Google that appears underneath the heading. So it's the bit where you get to kind of really encourage people to click on that link for that particular page. That help?
Kind of.
And
Yeah.
you know what? You've raised a really good point, Pamela, because for some of you, some of this work is really technical, you know, and it might not be something you've got time to do. You've got the interest or the passion to do it. And what you might come out of, and some of these tasks that you're being asked to do, it may be better to group them together and look to get somebody else to do this work for you. We are great advocates, and I understand what it's like when you're trying to do everything yourself, but sometimes, especially when it comes to anything digital and technical, you can actually create more problems for yourself if you haven't got enough time to learn what it is that you're doing and understand what the benefits are. And it might just be that it's a better idea to employ somebody to do this for you. And the reason that you're maybe on this course is to understand what it is you're asking for, what it is you want them to deliver for you, and you're more empowered when you're going out there to find the person that's going to do the work for you. Does that make sense? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, I get stuff sent to me all the time about SEOs and your website's this and your website's that, and can we send you a free quote? And I used to be on first page of Google, but I had somebody who was doing that for me. And quite honestly, I didn't find it made me any more sales if I was on the first page or whether I was on, you know, the fifth page.
Mm-hmm.
So I do get really frustrated because I'm bombarded with people commenting on my website.
Yeah, so you know, if your website is indexed and listed and you appear online, you'll get targeted by people that are cold calling and trying to win some business. So, you know, as business owners, what we need to do is we need to understand what the benefits of doing these things are for our business. You know, if it's become more important to you, Pamela, because of COVID over the last couple of years, that actually the website performs better and you get more inquiries online and do more sales online, then maybe how you appear in the search engines is more important than it used to be. You know, maybe that matters. Maybe it's time to spend more effort, more time on making the website better, because you need to make sure that should the worst happen again and we all go into lockdown and everyone goes back online for everything, that you're actually in a good position. So it's just making that business kind of decision for yourself at the right time.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to move on just because I'm just aware of time. I want to talk about links and link building. And if anyone else has any questions about keywords and where to put them, please just, you know, pop a note in the chat that you'd like to talk about it more, and we'll try and come to you at the end. So I want to talk about links and link building because this is a really important thing to think about when we're thinking about how Google sees us or how search engines see us. And we talked a bit about authority and, you know, how search engines, how do they rate one person over another? What kind of rating system do they use? So a link to your website from another website basically gives you, you know, brownie points, we call them with Google. So they are like votes and they help the search engines to rank your web pages, but not all links are equal. So you will probably have found, and I know that when I was in one of the breakout rooms, that some people were finding their websites on directory sites and other search engines that aren't kind of, you know, as well trafficked, let's say. And those kind of links don't have the same kind of value as links from more trusted sites or more trusted sources. And in order to explain that, I'll give you an example. If you were very lucky and you could get a link on your website from the BBC website, you'd get 1 million brownie points from Google. If you got a link on your website from Unlocking Potential, you might only get 5 brownie points on your website, because Google takes a look at who the authority players are out there in the world and who's got the biggest, best, most visited, most authoritative websites. And if you can get a link from those websites, you get a better plus point. So link building is at the heart of search engine optimization. And it's the bit that no one likes to do because it takes ages. It's real legwork. It's something that needs to be done over time. It doesn't generate fast, quick, easy, simple results just like that. And it's a bit that as business owners, they don't generally focus on link building because you've got lots of other things to focus on. So link building is sometimes an area of the SEO kind of marketing process that you tend to outsource to other people. And that's okay, as long as you understand what it is you want them to achieve and you can actually get regular reviews for how that is benefiting the business. And you don't have unrealistic expectations for how long that might take. So some tips for you. If you want to have a look at how many links your website has currently got coming in, we call those inbound links. There is a tool that you can use that's, I think you have to sign up for a free trial. So you can use it for free, but you may have to give it some data. So don't do that if you're not happy to. But in the chat, we'll share a link to moz.com/link explorer. And that one will allow you to put in your website address and it will tell you how many links you have got coming in to you from other websites. So it will show inbound links, and I think it will also show outbound links. And that's where you've got links coming from your website to other people's websites. And those kind of links might be an industry body that you belong to, might be a professional organization. It might be that you're a member of the Chamber of Commerce. It might be a link to your Facebook page. So you have links coming in and out of your website. So I'm going to give you some tips for some things that you can do that aren't going to be too arduous. So if you do have any industry bodies or memberships that you pay and you belong to, I would link to them if they are, if they have a bit of authority, and I would also ask them to provide a link to your website. And that's quite a quick, easy win. And I imagine that some of you have got memberships and associations with professional bodies and aren't doing that. So do that. That's a quick win for you. Share links to your website on your social platforms, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. Lots of people tend to share images and then might write a bit of copy and they don't add the link to the website. And I know Graham will nod at this because it's one of his pet hates. That is an opportunity for you to generate not only a link into your website, but to make it easy for people that are engaging with you on social media to come to your website. So make sure you put, if you're sharing a story on social media, if you've just written a really nice article about a new product or a new service, make sure you share that link. Another easy, quick win for you, and this won't cost you anything, have links to your website in your emails, in your email footers. Who isn't doing that currently? I bet you there's a few people here that aren't doing that. So share the link to your website, share the link to your social platforms, chuck it in your email signatures. The other top tip is to write really incredible content, really engaging, awesome content that other people want to share on your behalf. I know that's easier said than done, and we're not all copywriters, but if you can do that, and other people start sharing your content, you're on to a winner. You can also try guest blogging, and you can also try getting in the news, get in the news, local press, enter awards, and make sure that if anyone is talking about you, that you get a link to your website, because generally the press and the media will not give you a link. if they don't have to, because actually it's better for them not to. You know, they'd rather have less outbound links and more inbound links. And something else I often get asked is it normal for people to contact you and ask you to link to them in return? And it's called reciprocal linking. So you may have come across this in the past, and I used to have to deal with this on a daily basis. So reciprocal linking, where someone says, go on, I'll put a link on my site to yours if you do the same for me. That is actually against Google's code of conduct and their guidelines. So it does happen, and it is done, and people do it, but it's not the best way actually of generating traffic to your website and awareness. So if it doesn't make sense for you to have a link on your site to someone else's and vice versa, if you can't build that into the story and the content in some way, I would avoid that. But it sometimes does happen naturally, but I just wanted to raise that. So when we're talking about website links, we have this acronym, which is expert, authoritative, and trustworthy. So we've talked about inbound links. These are sometimes referred to as backlinks. That's all about quality. So that's all about social content, referrers, media, influencers, all about quality. We've got outbound links, and these are all about credibility. So this is your memberships, your associations, and is useful for users. We've got internal links. This is links people don't talk about very often. And these are links that help users with their experience, their user experience on your website. So if you, again, harking back to the Yoast SEO tool, if you do use that tool, it will encourage you on your pages to put something called in context links. So when you're writing a blog post, for example, you might be, maybe Naomi's writing about beautiful new lampshade fabric she's just designed or something, and she's writing a blog post and doesn't think, well, I've just mentioned a product that I've actually got on my site somewhere else. You can actually put a link to that product and make that word be a link to that product. That makes sense for the user experience, that when you're talking about that, they could click on that link and go and view that product nice and easily. And so that's good for your customers, but Google like that as well. That's going to give you some brownie points. So if on your website, you don't have any in-context links in your content, go and do that. That's another quick win. That will give you a few more brownie points. FAQs is a really good way of generating this nice kind of SEO content where you can link through to other areas of your website. And when you're doing keyword research, what you're going to find probably is that the kind of content that people are writing and focusing on, sometimes it has numbers in it. Sometimes it's things like top 10, blah, 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 blah. You know, you might find that that is a bit of content doing some keyword research that you really need to do. And adding that to an FAQ, frequently asked questions page, can be really, really useful for your search engine optimization and also in getting all of these brownie points from Google. Lastly, I will say that one of the biggest areas that causes problems for websites is having broken links. Broken links on your website, but also broken links you don't even know about. Broken links that are out there, they've been indexed by Google. Maybe they're even from an old website you used to have, or a link you shared with someone 5 years ago that no longer exists, you don't realize is being found in Google. If you have lots of those links out there and they link to your domain name that is still live, you're going to be getting negatively impacted by Google and you're going to be marked down by that. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that you understand, do I have any broken links out there? And using those kind of tools where you can check what links you have. And again, this is something we're going to talk about on our next session on day 2 and also on day 4, how you can check, you can use tools to keep an eye on the health of your website, the health of your domain name, and do you have issues such as broken links or issues that you need to deal with? Because you guys are busy people, you're running businesses, you're wearing all these different hats. if you can use tools to help you learn about and address these problems better and quicker, then that's great. And if that's too much, then maybe you've got someone that does that for you, and that's okay as well. The important thing is it's your business. You understand why it matters, why it's important, and what needs to be done to resolve it. Right, I am going to stop rabbiting and stop talking, and I am going to open up the floor for a few questions. Hopefully there are some questions, and if I can't answer them, I'm going to note them down and come back to you. So, Graham.
We haven't had any more questions
No.
in the chat, Sarah.
Okay.
So certainly, I think we'll open the floor to anyone who's got a question from that session.
Anyone that wants to put their mic on, if they want to, or wants to write something into the chat that relates to how search engines. Anushka, go for it.
Hi. So in terms of like outbound links, because I've just joined some new, like Not on the High Street and Wolf and Badger, and so they'll be good people to connect with in terms of putting links in, but I'm not quite sure how to add a link. So I know how to add links when I'm blogging, you know, with a product from my website. I don't know how to do that. That's the only thing. Is there any guidelines on that?
Yeah, so an important thing for you to think about there, Anushka, if you're going to link away from your website to a really popular website like that,
yeah,
there are a few things you want to think about. One is that when you create that link on your website, you have the option that link opens in a new tab, so that your website stays there and the new website that they're clicking on opens in a new tab, so that your website doesn't disappear. I'm not convinced that linking to websites like that, unless that is going to have a massive amount of benefit from you. What would be better would be if you could link from their websites to your website. That would be better for you from a retail perspective.
So how do you mean though? So if I wanted to write a new blog that I've just joined Wolf and Badger, I'm not quite sure I understand how that works.
So what I would want to do there is you could talk about Wolf and Badger in in your blog, depending on whether you are wanting to send people to Wolf and Badger.
Yeah,
I don't think you want to do that.
No, not really.
So therefore, I would not add a link to Wolf and Badger. I would just talk about the fact that you are on there.
Okay.
But on Wolf and Badger, if you're on there, I don't know if you're allowed. I don't know what the rules are. But if you're allowed on Wolf and Badger to put a link back to your website, I would do that. That would have benefit from you.
Okay.
For you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because when you're linking out, it's useful to link out to organizations that are going to give you credibility, and also that aren't going to move business and transactions away from you. So while Wolf and Badger is great and they will benefit from that link from you, you're not going to have any benefit from that. So we've always got to be thinking about what is the bet, what's in it for me. Now, if you said to me, I'm going to link to the National Body of Cornish Surfers because I'm a member, that makes sense, and that would be a good link to have. But when I added that link, I'd want to click on the box that says open in a new tab, because I don't want them just to disappear and never come back.
Okay, cool. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Welcome.
So we've got a question.
Oh, sorry. Carry on.
Sorry. I'll just say we've got one question from Laura saying you were just talking about links to other websites. If they are reciprocal, but for a good reason, i.e. we work together, would that be okay?
Yes. Yeah. And there are reasons. While reciprocal links do occur naturally, there are reasons, and that is okay. What I was talking about was this kind of underhand, naughty SEO marketing tactic, which is all about kind of, you know, trying to generate mass amounts of links by you know, going on a bit of a reciprocal link hunt, and that's not allowed because Google use, you know, counting links and authoritative links to rank you, so they don't want you doing that. But if it's something that makes sense and it, you know, totally makes sense that you have a link to them and they have a link to you, that's absolutely fine. I can see Aaron has his hand up, and I know Naomi's got a question. Was that it from the chat, Graham?
So far, yes.
Right. So who wants to go first? Either Aaron or Naomi. Go for it.
So it was again links out. So recently, my main focus has been getting sample boxes to the interior trades and getting them to open trade accounts. So I had an idea that I could make a page for curtains and blind making, and almost like a referral page for like some of my best trade customers. So it's almost helping them out, but then referring for them to get orders for my fabrics to make curtains and blinds. So some of them link, and quite a few of them link back to me. So I think I had put down a note saying I do need to work on getting the tab to not disappear from my website, you know, and it clicks through. So do that.
What software do you use, Naomi?
Squarespace I've got.
Squarespace. You should be able to create a link where it opens in a new tab. That's the key bit of lingo you need to look for. And I think that what you're doing there is very smart, that you're linking in a way that makes sense to your business. Because you know, if you design fabric and that's something that you do, you're linking with businesses that customers are also going to be looking for. So you're creating that kind of natural link, but you're absolutely right in that you also want them to keep your website open as well as visiting these other ones. And you also want to develop that relationship with those other suppliers that you're working with. So if they, you know, I've worked on projects where pages like that can generate so much referral traffic for the other business that you can actually start charging referral fees. You know, and that's okay, that's allowed and above board. But you know, if you're going to, you know, if your website suddenly got, you know, uber famous and got 10 million hits a day or something, you know, these guys are going to be bashing down your door to appear on your links page, I promise you. So there's something in it for everybody, you know.
That's it, and hopefully more trade accounts opened and people want to work with me. Okay, it's quite a different way of doing things, I think. In the sector, but I thought of it and as an idea, and I thought hopefully it will pay off. As long
as you know, as long as it's not one way, you know, if you're as long as they're kind of, you know, linking, you know, it might be that they link to you, but they also link to 5 other you know, makers or something like that, and that might not be you might not be comfortable with that, or it might be they link to 5 other makers, but actually they cover the Northwest, they cover the Southwest. I'm comfortable with that. So
they're
just making those making those commercial decisions.
Okay, thanks.
Lovely. So Aaron, I know Aaron has got his hand up. Have you still got a question, Aaron?
Yeah, I do. So I assume a domain name, if you pick a domain name that if you pick a domain name that contains terms that people are going to search for, I assume that will be good. Are there any other tips that you can think of in terms of choice of domain name?
I can definitely give you some tips on domain name, Aaron, and that is keep it simple. Keep it simple, keep it short. You'll be lucky these days if you can find something that is short and simple, because domain names are quite hard to come by. I wouldn't necessarily worry particularly about having keywords in your domain unless, and I happen to know you are in quite a specific industry. So that could be beneficial for you, but actually the trickier thing to do is to get something short, simple, that isn't misspellable. That's such a classic. You know,
Even
try and find a domain name that is easy to spell, that has you know, as few hyphens as possible, because that's another thing people don't, you know, people don't think about having to use hyphens. I think probably one of the reasons we have unlocking hyphen potential is because of the other unlocking potential that appears out there.
yeah,
And when it comes to keywords, Aaron, you're better off focusing keywords in the URLs on the different pages of the website, because
Right.
different pages of the website will have different focuses.
yeah,
So if you had one overarching value proposition, that it makes sense to have a kind of a well-sourced keyword in your brand name, and it's no one else is using it, and it's easy to spell, and, then go for it.
right. Okay, well, that's good.
Helpful.
That is very helpful, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Cheers.
Welcome. And it's all about the Aarons. And we have another question from Aaron. Let's go for it, Aaron.
Yeah, just a quick one. Obviously, I understand how. Well, I'm learning how, like Instagram, for example, wants to keep people on their platform for a certain amount of time. Because obviously, the longer on the platform, the more ads they can show. But does Google work in the same way? So if someone's on your website for a period of time, do you get ranked higher? Or if someone's on their website for a lot longer and say there's no conversion rates, do you get penalized for it?
I think that, you know, Google uses a huge amount of data that it can track in terms of click-through rates from keyword and impressions. So if you ever look in Google Analytics, you know that Google has access to that data because it's sharing it with you. So you know that it plays a part in you know, designing its algorithms and understanding what's working, what isn't. So click-through rates, impressions, conversion rates do play a part in its decisions, but it has to be kind of careful because it has to try and be fair as much as it can be fair in terms of, and it wants to be seen as being quite an open and a competitive platform, although, you know, sometimes it's not very easy to compete with others on in Google, depending on what industry you're in. So yes, it does play a part of what happens when Google is ranking you, but not as much as the areas that we've already mentioned today. So in terms of site speed, usability, authority, link building, page rank, you know, those are the really critical elements that play a part in that kind of overall scoring. But yeah, I think there will be other factors. There will always be other factors. I'm just, thanks, Aaron. Thank you for your, go on.
Sorry, no, Anushka's just added, is there a link that she could be sent with regards to adding keywords to her URL, like an instructional thing about how you might do that?
Do you know what is, I'm gonna, I promise you I'm not paid by or sponsored by Yoast, but it's such a cool tool because it will do it for you. And you know what, if you can find an SEO tool, if you're not on WordPress and you're on something else, try and find an SEO tool for your platform. And if you can't find one, let us know and we'll try and find one for you, because it will help you and show you where to put these keywords, and it almost will do it for you. So with the Yoast tool, it asks you what your keyword is, and then it actually places them in the URL for you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to just move on just to very quickly show you this slide, because this is what's coming up in our session on Thursday. So Graham mentioned that we're going to be, we've got the lovely Christian and Zoe from Marwick Marketing coming in on Thursday. They are fantastic. They're going to be talking about owned, earned and paid media. There will be a bit of focus on SEO and in a bit more detail again. So what we've done this morning, we've looked at the basics, we've limbered up, we've stretched our arms and legs. We're getting the idea now about what this digital Basecamp is all about and what we need to be thinking about as businesses. I want you to go away from today's session, if you can find the time, and I know that your time is precious, if you can find the time to do some keyword research before that second session, that would be amazing. And you will get more out of that second session if you've been able to do that work. So even if you can only spend 30 minutes having a look at it, please try and do that before the session on Thursday. That will be super helpful. And they're going to go into more detail about SEO and Google Search Console and other tools that are out there that can help you understand all this a little bit more. So we are dead on time. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here so I can see all your lovely faces. Where are we? Are you all still there? No one's asleep yet.
Everyone's here still.
Oh, good.
Everyone's here.
So I'm going to stretch my arms up like that. Oh, I need to stretch my legs. I hope everybody has had a good morning, day one. You're feeling limbered, ready for more action on Thursday, I hope. And please just keep your questions coming to us. And your feedback is really valuable. And hope you found that helpful and enlightening, or it's just got you thinking differently. That's a win. Pamela, I'm going to help you get off Bing. You're my project.
That's brilliant. Thank you,
Come
Sarah,
and
so
work.
much.
Come and work for me. I'll pay you in chocolate.
Oh, deal done.
Okay, be really good.
Okay.
I need help.
Right.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, everyone. I have to keep going.
No,
but
don't worry. That's great. And please come back on Thursday. And
I'll be back Thursday. It might be the same. I'm not being rude, but you know, I'll just have to keep on going out and making a cup of coffee for someone. So
don't worry. Well, look, Karen's working as well. Lots of people are having to work because you're
oh, brilliant. All right, that makes me feel
business
better.
owners, aren't you? You're busy people. We get that.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And if any of you ever need chocolate for your business, I do personalised unique chocolate that fits in with your business, particularly personalised business cards. A good promotion
business cards. I'm sure I've heard you say that before, Pamela.
There you go. At the risk of being boring. Thank you. Bye-bye all. Bye-bye.
See you on Thursday, everybody.
Yeah, see you Thursday. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.
Oh dear. You're right there, Karen. Did you have any question? Oh, thank you. Are we going to have two Karen Baileys on Thursday? That is the question. No, we're going to help you. See you on Thursday, Karen. How's who's that? Is that Gillian? Gillian. Oh, it is Gillian. Are you? Did you have a question, Gillian? Oh, Gillian.
No, sorry. Yeah, it's Gillian.
It is Gillian. Thank you.
But don't worry about that. I always get it. No, I just wanted to apologise for not.
Where are you? Is that your stuff?
Yeah, this is our shop. So I've been working today covering one of our members of staff. So I've been sort of jumping in and out, but yeah, been listening all the way through. So it's been really helpful. Just wanted to jump on and apologise for not being sort of heavily involved today. So
no apologies. Loving the look of